I'm at the Port of Ensenada, and Karma's up on the seawall looking out at the ocean. This is the north side of the port. There's one road into the port. It's nice, big, 2 lanes. There's some big truck parking area here. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for filming this. There's actually a ship out there, and the port is over here on my left. I'm filming it. There's the entrance. I don't know if the sun is making a glare. It has a beautiful left turn to go back and go back north. And there's some shipping containers here. And you basically go back north on this toll road, which has 3 military checkpoints. Mountains on your right, ocean on your left. An absolutely beautiful drive, 70 miles into the U.S. border. The border crossing, I don't know what that looks like. I haven't filmed it yet, but I intend on it. So this is a very nice port here, and very organized, I'll just tell you that. Okay.
How long have you been living in Mexico?
5 years full-time.
And where are you from?
Sacramento, California.
And can you tell me something that you would like other people to know about living in Mexico that they probably don't know?
Mexico is a third world country, but it has all the modern conveniences, and especially in Baja. The Baja people, the people who are born here, they associate themselves more as Americans than Mexicans. Granted, they are proud Mexican people, but they are used to American things, being so close to the border. So we can get everything we want here. It's perfectly safe here. We had a meeting a few weeks ago with Pro Turismo, and they wanted our advice, and we said, divorce yourself from Mexico. Call yourself Baja, the other Mexico.
So sort of a secession sort of thing.
Yeah. Because those things people read about in the newspaper, that just does not happen here.
It's a little bit sensational.
It's very sensationalized. It's like, you know, somebody gets killed in Chicago.
Right.
It doesn't affect what happens in San Diego.
It's like trying to say something that happens in inner city Detroit says something about the entire state of Michigan.
It's across the world.
Standing just north of the Port of Ensenada on the toll road. They do have double trailers down here. They're the intermodal shipping containers. Basically a straight road, toll road all the way down here from the Otay Mesa border. There's a shipping yard about a half a mile ahead of me. I've been seeing a lot of doubles trailers pulling in there. And then some flatbeds coming out of Ensenada, mostly shipping containers coming in and out of the port. You about the desalinization plant, so you were telling me that.
Yeah, Mexico in the next 10 years is basically going to run out of water unless they put together a plan, and so the Mexican government has put together a plan based on local communities taking the direct action of putting in desalinization plants. And we're going to see 6 of them throughout the peninsula, and maybe more. And they're also going to do tertiary sewer treatment, so they can use their sewer water as drinking water, which they do in many places in the United States. And so their water is a very important resource in Baja, and it's going to be more and more important as time goes on.
And coming from the Great Basin, we know that it's an issue up there too. You were saying Rosarito will have, do they have one?
They do not have one now, and when they put the one in, the intention is to sell some of that water to San Diego and into the United States. So, because San Diego doesn't have a place to put a plant that's cost effective, and they'd rather buy it from somebody. And they've already done that with sewerage in Tijuana. They have a treatment plant in Tijuana that treats water for a portion of San Diego as well as for Tijuana.
Good. Okay.
So we're working closer and closer together, the communities. Matter of fact, one thing recently that happened is a lot of kids from the United States are now going to Tijuana to get their education because it's less money and they have incredible schools. And so we're seeing kids fleeing the United States because they can't afford it and going to Mexico to school. And the opposite is happening. Wealthy people in Tijuana are sending their kids as exchange students to the United States. So
funny. So you said the Mexican government and the U.S. government's working together a lot more than people realize.
Incredibly close. Incredibly close. Yeah, also with the fighting the drug cartel. I mean, we now have ICE agents down here, that are in plain clothes fighting crime.
We had a guy come out of nowhere yesterday when we were at a cafe, and somebody tried to come up and ask us for some money, and this man came from the other side and stopped her and said, go. And I was like, where did he come from? He just came out of nowhere. And then he went back to the corner, and I was like, wow, I never even noticed him before. But then I started paying attention and realized they were on every corner, just hanging out, watching.
But we're really lucky in Baja because we don't have to put up with what they're putting up in Juarez and areas like that. I mean, yeah, we have crime, but I don't think any more so than they have in every American city.
Well, and I heard an interview today, and it was so relative. People come here, and they leave their brains at the border, and they go into neighborhoods, and they do things that they would never do in their community in America. I mean, if you lived in Beverly Hills, you wouldn't go too far in one direction or the other because it's a bad neighborhood, and you don't do that here. And you just have to have the same...
Yeah, you wouldn't drive around East Los Angeles at night.
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. You wouldn't. And that's one thing. I mean, it's hard to recognize a bad neighborhood where you've crossed the line. But if you're lost,
I had some people coming down from Northern California, and they said, would it be safe to come down here? And I said, well, I tell you what, if you make it through Los Angeles, it should be safe from that point on.
Well, and I drove recently between San Diego and LA, and there are no signage at all on Highway 5 about getting off and getting gasoline or a bathroom or food or anything like there are on every highway in Mexico. And I had to get off. And there was graffiti on the toilet seat. Now that's a dangerous neighborhood, and I wouldn't normally go into a neighborhood like that.
We're at the port. This is where all the trucks come in from the toll road. There's actually a parking area right up there. So if you were staging here, this would not be a bad place to stage. Huh. That's a federal police officer clearing the traffic for 2 trucks taking a double-wide trailer north from Ensenada out of town. He's trying to escort them through the traffic, but looks like there's a California license plate blocking the party. Not getting the picture that they need to get out of the way. They got a pilot car in the back. And there they go, north on Highway 1.
You were talking about an immigration situation, and I know that there's a backdoor situation of Europeans where America has a problem with immigration of certain ethnic country situations. Is that something, because I've met Italians and British people who are here, young, in Mexico, waiting for a lottery situation to get into America. Is that true in France as well?
There's immigration issues too in France, especially from North Africa coming to France or Africa coming to France. In general, the general opinion is more we have a culture about the translation from French to English would be open arms, maybe something like that. So there's on the immigration point of view, a law, we are very open. Now on an everyday life, depends on who you're talking to. There's a resistance to foreigner living in France. It's mostly North African people. So there's a two side.
But if you are a Mexican, let's talk about a reverse situation.
Okay, sure.
If you were a Mexican and you wanted to go to France,
don't
Is
think
it difficult?
No,
It's
I don't think so.
basically you get on a plane and you get a visa from the airplane?
Yes,
or?
the relationship between France and Mexico, in an immigration point of view, I don't think there's any problem. I've never really lived the situation because my husband is not Mexican. I've never heard Mexican people telling me, oh, it was so difficult. I don't think so, but I cannot really say for sure.
And I've heard that from many Mexicans, that they can travel almost anywhere other than America without any problem. And you know, it used to be with Canada, but Canada's kind of got on the bandwagon with America, and they've been difficult. And I used to always wonder, why would a Mexican pay a coyote to swim the river when all they had to do is get a first-class ticket to Canada and walk across an Indian reservation? But now that's stopped.
True.
That's no longer
It's also an economic situation, because usually people who are trying to cross illegally with a coyote are from the lower social class. They don't have an education. They don't.
But they pay a fortune.
They do pay a fortune. They pay maybe $2,000, maybe more, maybe a little less, but it's around $2,000.
So first-class ticket to Toronto.
But they
don't know.
They don't know, and it's part of also the low-class culture.
But that's not available anymore. It's not available anymore.
No,
it stopped about 6 months ago.
Completely?
Completely, yes.
Okay.
Well, we don't know that for sure, but
right, we don't know for sure.
as long as you have uneducated people, you're going to be able to sell them Pleasure Island, even though it doesn't exist.
Well, but to go to America as a Mexican, you have to have money in a bank so that they know that you're coming back.
But that's legally.
Right, legally.
We're talking about legally. We're
Yes.
talking about illegally.
We're talking about illegally.
Illegal.
Somebody meets you on the street and convinces you to give them $1,500, and then they sell you to a human trafficker 10 miles from the border.
The dream of getting rich or making money in the States is still very present in people's mind.
They think that the streets are paved with gold.
Right.
See, I'm seeing a difference with this because Americans are afraid to come to Mexico right now. Over the last 3 or 5 years, it's gotten really bad. And the Mexicans are very resilient. And now they're not really marketing to the Americans. They're marketing within their own middle class and wealthy class. And the middle class is growing. And we're like you and I were at the beer festival. And it was all 30-year-old rich Tijuana people.
Right.
It was you, me, the band, Old Mission Brewery, maybe 2 or 3 other Americans, and probably 3,000 rich 30-year-old Mexicans. And they're like, we don't care about you Americans.
No,
you know, we're economically viable, and we have our own economical situation. We don't care anymore.
But that's also middle class.
But the middle class is here.
That's right. It's here.
That's what makes a really good economy. And that's what's killing America.
Right. And then also the low class, if they had that money, they wouldn't go to the States either.
No. And now they're coming back. And I'm meeting, and Desiree's met with me, several Mexican Americans who were born in America. Their parents swam the river, paid the coyote.
Right.
And they've come back.
Right.
And they've stayed. They came on a vacation. They stayed there working. They're like, this is lovely. I could make in America like for a whole year, but I here like for a month I make nothing. But my lifestyle is so much better, and I'm living a better life, and I'm happy. And you know,
there's a twist. True. The older generation who go there, make money, hopefully get the best for their kids,
and send money home,
and then send money home, and then hopefully get the best to their kids, get an education, and then those kids now are coming back here.
They are
enjoy the lifestyle.
The biggest exodus, other than we older Americans who are baby boomers, are Mexican Americans born in America coming back and giving up their passports and getting government jobs and living life lovely.
And that's the story that the American media does not tell America.
That's right.
So, okay.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Whatever you do.
Bye.